and the staff here for inviting us to speak about our book, Dead in Good Company. Before we begin, just a word about the importance of libraries to our culture. In 1959, the Medford Library opened in Medford Square, and I was 13 then, and armed with my first library card, I went to the library to take out the first books with my new card. And the first book I took out was this book, Flight to the Mushroom Planet. Now, this book was written in 1954 and is still being published today. I got this edition only about 2 months ago from Amazon. So I guess I had pretty good respect and literary ideas way back then. But the important thing is that this set off the light in my head about how wonderful reading was. And reading and the library is certainly a big piece of the puzzle that led to this book. Tonight we want to take you on the journey that led to the book. So many things had to happen to make this book a reality. And really it was a passing remark that made this happen. Imagine maybe 30 years ago if a group of artists were sitting around in a cafe in Paris and one of them said, you know, I think Les Miserables would make a great musical. They would have said it in French, but the meaning is there. And all great things start with an idea, and that statement, something as simple as that, might have led to Les Miserables, the musical that's been seen by millions of people and has lasted, what, 25 years now. So yes, sometimes a passing remark can change your life. In my case, I went to visit my author friend, Piers Butler, who had just written a book, a novel called A Riddle of Stars. Piers is a professor at Bentley University, my alma mater, and my author friends, I'm a book distributor, my author friends sign their books, and I put an autographed copy sticker on them and bring them to my accounts. So I went to Pierce's house in Waltham. When I got there, he said, oh, I'm glad that I'm here, John. I thought I was going to miss you. I was at Mount Auburn Cemetery bird watching. Do you do that? So I said, you know, Pierce, I've heard about Mount Auburn Cemetery now and then through the years, but I always thought a cemetery is a cemetery, so I never really thought of going. And Pierce said, no, John, you're wrong about Mount Auburn. It's not like other cemeteries. I think you'll really like it, and I think you would like bird watching too. So that remark brings you here tonight and brought me to Mount Auburn Cemetery and changed my life in the year 2000. So I went there the following Sunday, picked up a map of Mount Auburn at the gate, and which you really have to do, because if you go there without a map and leave your car thinking you'll find it, you won't. It's 175 acres, and you'll end up having to call a security guard to help you find your car. That's the kind of place it is. But anyway, I drove to Willow Pond. I've always liked weeping willows. And I said, well, let me see what this Willow Pond is like. I got there and walked around, and its beauty was obvious immediately. I had my rangefinder Minolta camera with me, a film camera. Do you remember film? Anybody remember film? And as I was walking around, I took a picture of a bird in a tree, and I didn't even know what the bird was. And I still have a photograph of that bird framed in my house, which I now recognize as a Baltimore Oriole. But that was the bird that started it all off. It was 10 years of exploring Mount Auburn that led to the idea for this book. In 2010, I thought, well, what about a book of photographs of the cemetery, of the wildlife, since that's what I did there, photographing the wildlife. I contacted a friend who was a literary agent in New York, Linda Connor of the Linda Connor Agency, and told her of my idea, and she said, John, it's very difficult to sell a book of photographs to a publisher. If you want to do this, you're going to have to come up with some additional idea. And one day after that, as I was driving through the cemetery, I passed Bigelow Chapel, and the idea struck me right then. I have all of these author friends. They all love Mount Auburn. Some of them even meet me there to sign their books. Why not a book of essays about the cemetery from them, and photographs from our various photographer friends and myself and Kim?